Hi, I'm Lucille Hunt, and in Navajo, I have a name, Shay Nahanaba. That's my Navajo name. And Hashlishni Nishlint Deschini Bashishchin Thane Comanche Dashiche Nalsoy Halsoy Dashanale. So those are my 4 clans, and that's how I was taught, and I enjoyed sharing my heritage with everyone. So those are my 4 clans, and at the end you always have to say that's the if you are a woman, a girl, then you say that's the woman that I am, that's who I am, Or if you're a man, you say that's the man that I am, and I'm that man. You have to say that at the end after you introduce yourself with your clan. A son in the shle, that's what that means. Okay, and when I first walked in here, there were 2 beautiful Navajo women who came down and met me, and that's what she said. She just straight down name her 4 clans, and she said a son in the shle, and it was so cool to me. I just couldn't help but love them. So, and my grandma says, when you know your clan, you will always have a family. They will always love you, and no matter if you've known them or do not know them, if they know your clan, they embrace you as a family member. They will love you. And so that is true many times. I have found many, many family members. And I would not know them. They would invite me here and there, or, they would just say, come eat with us, and you're with us today, or whatever, So it was really a nice way to know your clan. And so my grandma is right. And so now I would like to just also mention my grandma, how lovely and kind she was, and to take me in when I was about like 2 years old, and I lived right next to her hogan. We just lived side by side, and then my sisters were being born, and I'm the 3rd one in the family, 3rd eldest. And so every time my sister would be born, then another one would come, and then just so on. And every time, and I would be with my grandma, and she was my babysitter. She was my second mom. She was just everything to me. And the first thing that I would do with her is we wake up and just put on my shoes and go run out the door and find my grandma. And I knew exactly where she was, because she was always at the corral, milking the goats. And we had lots of goats that we milked every day. And so I would run to the sheep corral, find my pail. It's a little pail like this, and I milk the goats in that for my family, and she would do hers, and then we would just go through and get it all done, and I would take mine home, hoping that I would not trip, so that we can have a little bit of milk that day. And when I get home, then my grandma, when she would get hers on the stove, strain it and get it on the stove. And then that's how we would have our milk that day, our goat's milk. And we put a little bit of cornmeal in it sometimes to give it flavor, and it was so good. And we had bread with it, and we dunk our bread, and And so my grandma, she was so cool. She was really my best friend, and she was my teacher, and she was just everything to me. And so that's the description of my grandma. And one thing that every Navajo gets to sleep in is a cradle board. How many of you know about anything about a cradle board? Okay, yeah, cool. That's so cool. That's neat. So who does cradleboard, or where have you seen cradleboard?
I work with the Swinomish people in Washington State.
Okay.
And they weren't using cradleboards anymore, but the grandmas still talk about the cradleboards in their.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. So the Navajo cradleboard is very, very simple, but yet, everything that we have in Navajo, the stories are connected with life. It has to do with life. And so is the cradleboard. And then one thing that my grandma, back in those days when I was born and growing up, they told us, don't ever marry outside your tribe, outside the Diné people. And they are all enemies. I mean, not that they hated them or not that they had anything bad feelings toward anybody else, but just that they were taught that way and they were teaching us that way. And so, but something happened while I went to school, to college, that I found a different person, a different color, a different culture, different everything. So I found my husband, not in college, but after, when I found a job. But anyway, so I'm married to a Bilagana. How many of you know what a Bilagana is? Okay, what is Bilagana?
White people.
White people, yes, okay. So most of you are, I think. Okay. All right, so and she would say to me, don't marry outside your tribe. Always get married in your tribe. I couldn't find anybody in my own tribe. Everybody was related to me, so I couldn't marry them. So, yeah.
Didn't you say one of your plans was Comanche, though?
Yes.
Somebody had already done then, married.
But not in the way that, I can tell you that story if there's time at the end, okay? So not in the way that you chose to marry in that way. But anyway, so the cradleboard, if you marry outside your clan, this is what happens. And the cradleboard has really, though, she's just a little cutie in there. They're still human when you have a baby. So when in Navajo, the cradleboard is made of two boards that are held together, and it represents Mother Earth and Father Sky. And then you turn it over, and it has to do with life. Everything that in our story and representation has to do with life. And so you can see this zigzag all the way on this side, and then turn it to the other side, the zigzag on the other side, and then you have another zigzag through the middle. They all have meaning. This side represents lightning bolt, and this side represents silent lightning, the sheet that just lights up the sky during the rain. Okay, so, and the middle is the baby is secure inside the cradleboard with a sunbeam. Brings happiness, brings joy, and brings sunshine to the baby and helps the baby grow. And then this little board down here is the footboard, and that's the little rainbow. And there's another little rainbow back here. You know, when sometimes there's weather or something going on, then you see sundogs. That's what these represent. And the real rainbow, the real rainbow is this right here. That's the rainbow. And in Navajo, the rainbow represents protection. The rainbow protects our land, our livestock, even ourselves, and the earth. And so that's how we are protected, is with the rainbow. And so in the cradleboard, a baby is protected. When a baby falls, its head is protected and is secure inside very safe. And, excuse me. Sorry. Like I said, you know, I have this crazy cold or something like that. And anyway, that's the cradle board. And so when the baby goes to sleep, he doesn't want to be disturbed. He loves to sleep. And we're all like babies too. When we go to sleep, we don't want to be disturbed. So the baby goes to sleep, and we don't want the baby to be disturbed, and he doesn't want to be disturbed. This represents the cloud. We put the baby in the cloud, not the way we do things in the cloud these days. No, this is the real cloud. And we put the baby in the cloud, and he goes to sleep. Sorry. Now, when a baby is born in Navajo, the old traditional way, a sash belt. How many of you ever owned or seen or anything like a sash belt? Okay, how did you use your sash belt?
I didn't use it, but I've seen it.
Okay, where did you see?
My stepmom is
Oh,
she has
she's,
quite a few artifacts.
that's so cool. So you already know a lot of the stories that I've been telling you. Then she probably gave you a clan too. Yeah, all right. So a sash belt is woven. This was woven by my mom. In my family, everybody weaves, everybody it tells stories, and we are a very creative family. And so my mom wove all the sash belts that I ever owned, and I own a lot of them because I had a dance group. So my mom made sash belts for every one of them, and so all my dancers. And so in the sash belt are three colors, and they all have to do with life again. And so the white is traditional colors. This is a traditional sash belt. There are other sash belts out there these days, but this is a traditional sash belt. White represents the air that we breathe, and the green on both stripes represents the evergreen that is on the reservation, that is on Navajoland. We have all kinds of evergreen trees, and so that's evergreen. And then the red represents life's blood. And so this has to do with life. And when a baby is born, then a long time ago, before hospitals and before all these things happen that we go through as mothers, then the babies were born at home in a hogan. In a hogan, you have the roof is woven in the logs, okay? And it's how a hogan is, traditional hogan. And so a long time ago, then they would put this over a log, one of the roof in the log, and then below on the ground is a sheepskin. They put a sheepskin, and the mother, this is for the mother who's giving birth. And so she hangs on to the sash belt, and she kneels on the sheepskin. And my grandmother was what do you call it when you take your midwife? Yeah, she was a midwife, and so she knew all about it, and so she had plenty of stories. And so when a baby is being born, then the mother, this is a great help to the mother. She hangs on to it, and when the labors come, she really, really hangs on and pushes her baby out. And when the baby comes, and then after a day, they right away they take the sash belt down, and then as the baby and the mother get acquainted and get bonded, then the next day they put the sash belt on the mother. And if they put it on her, on her tummy as tight as possible to help her tummy return to normal size. So that's how sash belt was used, and was very helpful. And there's dances for sash belt, and that my grandma has taught me and everything, but we don't have time to do that, and plus I'm a little bit, beyond the age of dancing real anyway, so we won't do any dances. And so then, but I will show you how to wear a sash belt. This one is very, very long, and it takes a long time to wrap it around you. I will show you, this is another one that my mom wove, and they're very pretty. See, they're reversible. And so this is how she would do it. Let me the mic, yeah. You take a few strands from the sash belt, and then you place it on you. And then you tie, wrap, and wrap. Hopefully they come together. Maybe I'm too fat for this. Okay. Okay, so then you just tie it right there. And tie another one on the bottom, but we won't do that today. And that just bring the whole thing together. And when the women are going to town, then they put their concho on top of it, on top of their belt. Or they just wear it like this. And sometimes these the tassels come on both sides. So it just depends how long your belt is. And this one just goes on one side. And then, I know you're wondering, what about the tassels? What does it mean? The tassels, they mean posterity. Posterity never ends. Look how many, lots and lots of it. And so when you have children, and they have children, and they have children, and so on. So there's lots and lots of children, your posterity. Okay, so that is with the sash belt. Thank you. I think now a water break, so excuse me. The next thing I want to tell you about is the basket. And does anybody know what kind of a basket this is? What?
Wedding.
Oh, wedding, yes. That is the official name of this basket, the traditional Navajo wedding basket. And for a very, very long time, this is the only type of baskets that we wove for centuries. And it has meaning also. And again, coming from different part of Navajoland, you will hear different meaning for the basket, because we are all taught different, but the same meaning for the basket. And in my region, Eastern Navajo, Navajo has dialects also, and so 5 dialects, 5 regions: Eastern, Southern, Western, Northern, Central. We have five regions, 5 dialects, and 5. You will probably find 5 different stories about the basket, but they all mean the same thing, and they are all good teachings. And so the basket represents our environment, our world. Okay, and in the middle, this very, very middle, where it starts, and we start life, and then we go out. And the white, this is white, is the natural part, the natural color of the sumac. that we find on Navajo land, on Navajo land that we use, sumac, and so it's made out of sumac, the branches and the bark, and just different parts of it. That makes the whole basket, and it is harvested in the fall when it's the strongest. And so you start out, and the white in here and out here represent the air that we breathe. And then these little peaks on the inside, the dark, it represents the sacred mountains that surround our Navajo land. And then the red represents Mother Earth. And then we have the dark peaks on the outside. They represent rain clouds. See, when it rains, it brings life to the earth, and it brings life to us. It brings life to the animals and to the plants. It brings life. Everything about the basket has to do with life. And then every basket maker, every basket weaver is given a gift to do their basket all their lives. It's a gift, and so they do it, and so this represents the life that they give the basket, the life that they have. It's called the spirit life pathway, right through here. Every traditional Navajo basket will have a life spirit pathway, and your basket is alive with you, and you will continue to have that gift. And so, but if you forget and you weave it off and forget to put it in there, which nobody does, and so, but if it should happen, then you will lose your talent, your gift, your skill to weave basket. That's what we are told, and so we never forget to lose that skill to make baskets. And so that's what I know, what my grandma Haazbaa has taught me about the basket. Okay, and then here is, let's see, where am I now? Okay, my grandma, I was telling you about her, and do we need the mic again? And so, I'm going to tell you more about my grandma, and she wore skirts like this, and Navajo traditional skirt they're made in 3 parts. There's the lower part, the middle, and the upper, and of course there's the waistline. And it takes a lot of material. And my mom, I know she used to say, 9 yards. And so that's how much a good Navajo skirt, the amount of material it takes. And so my grandma, I'm going to just show you how she did with her skirt. And I saw her do it, and a lot of times I was there to use part of her skirt as well. Okay, so if I can put this on, and these safety pins are really good. They did not have buttonholes or anything like that in those days. So really good safety pin holds your skirt. Oops. If you're not watching, you can stick you really good. So her skirt, and many times in the morning, in the springtime especially, the lambs and the little goats, we have to separate them, and the little goats stay home, the little lambs stay home, and their mothers go out and graze. And so this is how she would separate them. Shoo, 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 you know, and she would just separate the little goats and the lambs like that. And then it would be time to make, you know, after all that, we put the sheep out to pasture, and then we go and make a meal, make lunch, whatever, it's breakfast. We come back, and she always cooked on an open fire. Sorry. And so, sorry, I've got to have some water. So let me just kick a little. Okay, so at the open fire, then she would bring the grill. She had a homemade grill that my grandpa had made for her, and that's what she used. And she had a few cast iron skillets, and that's what she used. And she put the grill on the hot coals, and to keep the hot coals hot and going, she'd fan it with her skirt to keep it hot. And then she'd put the grill on, and before she put the grill on, she would clean off the grill. She'd clean it off, clean it, really, really good. Then she put it on. Then she would also sometimes, you know, make her tortillas right on top of that, and then put her pot there and whatever we were having for dinner. And then when it's all done, she moved the pots with, this was her pot holder. She would take it off and put it here, and then we'd all come together to the one pot. And we didn't have, I didn't know that we didn't have plates or, you know, bowls or anything, cups individually. I thought because all we had was almost one of everything, and we all use it all, you know, we just come to the big pot, and then we kneel and we dunk our bread or whatever, you know, we eat that way. And so then after we all done, because we didn't have very much water, we had to haul water, and a lot of the water, we had to conserve water a lot, and a very little was used to wash dishes. And so just put a little bit on the dishes, and she started washing it and transfer it to a different part, another part of the utensil and stuff like that. And then she might come to the pots are all done, and then wipe it. She would wipe her pot really good and put it away. And then she gets to a knife or a spoon or something and she try to get the stuff off. You know, sometimes there's something that just doesn't come off. And so she'd try, and then she'd get and try to scrub it off, and still doesn't come off. So, and she just go, and just keep on going till it's all done. And then she'd wipe it, then put it away. And that's how she kept her dishes, and that's how we ate it from her dishes. And her skirt was very useful. And then in the morning, sometimes, you know, I just come. I mean, she would always want to clean me up. She would comb my hair. She would clean my face and everything. She could, come, little one, come. We got to clean you up for the day. And so I'd come over to her, and she would get her skirt and maybe start wiping my face and my eyes and everything and my nose. She'd come to my nose, and I'd still be going like that, but she'd come, blow, and so then I would do it, and then, okay, so then she would just, now you're ready to go with me. Then we'd go places. We ride horses or whatever we need to do. That's what we would do. And then before we did anything else, and before, she would sometimes look down at her skirt. Oh, I guess my skirt needs to be clean, or, there's a spot right here that needs, and there's another spot. Another one. Then she'd examine it more, get a little bit, shake it out, and she'd look at it. And then she'd get a hold of her waistline, and then go, oh. And there, she's got a new, clean area to start all over again. So that was her utility skirt. That was her skirt. She used it for everything. And so, thank you. And so now, that was my grandmother's skirt. Story about my grandmother's skirt. And the other thing that she had, my grandma Haazbaa, gotta take this skirt off. And she had lots of scarves. And in the winter, when I couldn't go out, she just let me stay in her hogan. And she taught me, everybody in my family knew how to make things out of our scarves. Sorry. So everybody had a scarf. My grandma had a scarf, my mom had scarves. Everybody just have different, all kinds of scarves. And so she taught me how to make little rabbits. Yeah, so see, there's the tail, and here and we made little rabbits. The first time I ever found out that I could make rabbits, and I practiced, and I stole everybody's scarf, and I made rabbits. I had rabbits all over, and so perhaps I could show you how to make a rabbit. And this is how my grandma taught me. Okay, you put it in triangle, you take it and fold it that way. You put it down. And take these ends, I don't know what you call these ends, and then you fold it to inside. And then you start rolling. You just roll it to about that point. Then you turn it over, and then you take this part and you push it inside, and you start just roll it around and around until you get to the end, and you find the tail and the ears. And so sometimes the tail gets longer, but it's still, there's your rabbit, yeah. And so see how easy and how fun it is to have a child make a rabbit from your scarf. And it's so easy to get it undone. And this is, that was a magic trick, right? Okay, so my grandma Haazbaa knew how to make a lot of things like that. And with her scarf, she would also, the way she wore them, and she would put it on me. I had a scarf, and she would give me one, and she would put it on me the way she wore them. And I had a scarf, and in the daytime, when she's working out with the sheep or anything, then her scarf was this way. This was her work scarf. Okay, so this was her work scarf, and all her hair would stay out and everything. She'd work away and sometimes ride horses or whatever. And then, but when we're out walking or riding horses, then her scarf was this way because the sun is shining and she doesn't want to get it in her eyes. There was no such thing as sunglasses in our family in those days. And so she'd just pull it over. And this was shade over her eyes. And I would be wearing mine exactly the same way. And so that was her scarf. And when she's not using it, it was also a utility whenever she had a scarf. She just wore it around her neck like that. And the old scarf that she had, she always had it tied around her waist, because this scarf can be used to tie up little lambs or make it into hobble for the horse. So this was her utility, and she wore it around her waist. And so that was the scarf that my grandma always had. And when we are down at the water hole, we take our sheep down to the water hole after we let them out and everything. Then at the water hole is really nice clay to play with. My grandma taught me how to make so many things, and and how to play with things that are in nature, and it was fun. It was just so fun, and that's how come I seeked her out every day to be with her, because it was exciting and it was fun to be with her. And so at the water's edge, where all the sheep and the goats and the horses and the cows, they're drinking or they're out in pasture, and we're sitting there by the water hole. And one last thing that she did with her scarf there is she took off her scarf, and on the water she put her scarf, patted it so the water started to seep through, and she would call me over, go drink some water. And so we have to kneel down to the water and drink through the scarf, make sure. And I say, Grandma, why do you do that? Why do you put this? Why can't we just drink like that? And she said, so you won't swallow any tadpoles. And so we drank our water that way. Talking about water, I got very thirsty. Okay, so, and while we're sitting there, after we drink water, then they say, okay, let's make some. I can teach you how to make little animals, or we can make people. So we grab a little clay, and then she say, okay, now what you need to do is, we get a little rock right by us, and on the rock we go like that to our clay, and I think it's like making dough, you know, and so we just make it, and she said, make it into a little round ball. And so we would do that. We would make it into a round ball, and she said, just like you're making tortillas or fry bread, you make it into a little round ball, and then you roll it out in the palms of your hand, and then you divide it. She said, you divide your clay into 4, like that. Then you pull in each area. You pull. And at this point, she would say, okay, what would you like to make? And I say, I want to have my own horse so I can ride it by myself. You know, I don't have to ride with you, Grandma. And so she said, okay, you can make your own horse. So, okay, I'm making a horse. These become legs. And so then she say, okay, now you have to bring the neck over and make it that way. And she say, don't forget the tail. They really need tail, because otherwise all those flies would get on them and they won't be able to shoo the flies away. And now you have to have long tail. So you have to get the tail. And I say, but Grandma, mine's looking like a dog. And she said, no, it's not going to be a dog. You said you want a horse, so you have to keep working at the legs. Keep working, keep going at the legs. Just keep going, and you go. And I said, oh, now it looks like a cat. I said, no, it's not a cat. No. You just make your tail a little longer and more flatter and a little less, and you can even twist it a little bit to make it look like hair, and then you make it go on the side, and then you get your neck a little higher, and then get your legs a little bit longer and longer on both sides, both ends, and then you get your neck and say, don't forget the hair on their neck. They must have hair. Horses have hair. And so I put the little hair, and then the ears. Okay, the ears. Okay, now, okay, so then we have, and there. Oh, almost done. Oh, Grandma, I broke my leg. I broke the leg to my horse. Oh, don't worry. She has to swish it in the water and put it back. There, a whole leg again. There, you got it. It's a whole leg. And so then I would keep going. Got my horse back. And so there. Oh, Grandma, I have a horse. It's a really, really cute, pretty horse. I can ride. I have my own horse now. And so there is my horse. And so, yeah. And then she would tell me how to make the saddle. She'd tell me how to make the people, to set it on top. And that would be me, to make myself, selfie. Okay. And so that's how we made these things. And all kinds of things we did. And so I have a few minutes that I can tell stories about the people. I can tell you the story about my grandpa, how the Comanche came into my family. Okay, so back then, a long time ago, when before my mom and my dad were even born, then my grandparents, they were raided by the Comanches. The Comanches came into their campground, and they raided their camp. And my great-grandmother was going to have her first child, and she was taken by the Comanches. And so they tried to fight them off, but they couldn't. And so she rode away. They took her and rode away. And for many, many months, she could not be seen. And so when she got to the camp, they saw that she was pregnant and she was going to have a baby. And they went and put her to work at the nursery, in the nursery, where all the mothers, Comanche mothers, who had babies, they would keep them in one place. And she took care of all those babies. And when the mothers came back to get them, then she would just give them back to their mothers. And so she was thinking all this time, I will run away. I do not belong here. I'm a Navajo. I want to go back to my people. I miss my people. I don't even know how to speak the language of the Comanches. I don't want to be here. I want to go home. So she kept doing this all the time, every day, and she made a plan that after her baby is born, that she would run away on the first full moon after the baby was born. And so a day came when that happened. There was a full moon. She had her baby, and so she decided, it's tonight. I must go. I will run away, and I will take my baby. And so she went and got got ready. And all this time, she was saving little bits of dry meat, dry food, jerky, and stuff like that. And she would put them in little pouches, and then she would put them in her skirt underneath and just pin them to her skirt. And so she had, by the time it was ready to go with her baby, then she had enough nourishment for her to be on the journey. And when the baby came, she got ready. And so she made sure that every night that she was there at the camp, that the dogs knew her, and so they wouldn't bark whenever she would be among them at night. And that was a time that she could do things for herself and just enjoy, being away from home. And so that night she went through the village, and all the dogs just wagged their tail and didn't say anything. And so she came back and got the baby ready, and then she took off. She ran as fast as she could and as far away as she could, and she just did not want anybody to follow her. And if there was a tracker behind her, she did not want to be caught. And so she just tried to run as fast and far away as she could the first night. And it was moonlight, so she could see, and she thought to herself and planned to sleep in the daytime and travel in the nighttime. And so that was her plan, and she took the baby. And so when on that journey, her baby started to squirm and make noise and was hungry and wanted to rest. And so she stopped. She looked around to see where she could go and be safe. And she thought, under a shade somewhere. So, under the shadow of a tree or a rock or boulder or something. So the tracker won't see me right away. And so she did find a big, big rock, big boulder. And she prepared a place and thought, if we have to stay here the night, this would be fine, this would be okay, this would be a safe place. And so she did. She found and made a place for the baby and herself. And as she unwrapped the baby, she screamed out, "Oh no, no, no." She saw that the baby was not her baby. She had given birth to a baby boy. This baby was a girl. And she cried. She just cried so hard. And she just didn't know what to do. And she started talking to the baby, picked it up and talked to her and said, "You are a girl. I am so sorry I took you from your mom. I didn't know that I took you. I thought it was my baby boy." And so she just cried and she said, "You are Navajo now. You belong to me. You are my daughter. I will raise you. You have a name now. This will be your name, Haazbaa." And so, Haazbaa means the little warrior who came after its mother. And so that was her name. That's what the baby that was not hers, that's what she named it, and she adopted that baby right away. And the baby grew up. But as a teenager and as baby was growing up in her home, they got home. They got back to her home, but her husband was not there anymore. And she told her mother, "Where is my husband?" And she said, "Well, because you were gone so long, he was needed in his own home." And so his mother called him back, and so he went home. "But since you are here, we can go get him." So they did. They got him. But when he when the relatives saw the baby and how beautiful that baby was, and they immediately, because in Navajo, every clan baby, everybody's baby is your child. And so they gave gifts, they gave love, they gave kindness, they gave just lots and lots of attention and lots of love to both of them, the mother and the baby, because the mother was home now, and the baby is a new member of their clan. And so the baby was accepted. She did not say a word that the baby was not the right baby. And so the baby started to grow, and as a toddler, then there's cousins who came to play with the baby. And as they came, she would give them things to do and play with and things like that. And one day she was looking out and saw the cousins and her baby daughter. Her baby daughter looked different. Her baby daughter was a little bit lighter than the other kids. And so she hurried out there, grabbed her baby, and came back and put ashes on her baby and put marks of, with the coal, the what do you call those black things, the coal, and just marked like chalk, and just marked her all over the place. And then she let her go. And so every day before she would send her baby out, that's what she would do to her baby. And so nobody would know that she was different. And so she grew up and became a teenager, had a kinalta. And so it was that way. And so when she got married, then she had her first 2 children were my grandpa, Robert Jones. Wait, what is my grandpa's name? Jones. Anyway, oh my goodness, I'm looking at my husband to see if he knows. He's a genealogist in our family. So anyway, Roy. His name is Roy. I'm sorry, Grandpa. But I remembered. So his name is Roy Jones, and he became my grandpa. And he is full Comanche, full-blooded Comanche. But he didn't know it until he was grown and had his own children. That my great grandma finally told him who he was. But he didn't care. He was a Navajo, as far as he was, he was Navajo, and he had a clan, and he had everything. And so that's how the Comanche came into our family. And that's my grandma, Kate Atiba story. And so when she gave birth to him is when the census came. And they named my grandma Akhet Datiba, the warrior who came after its mother. That's what, even in the books, in the written, census, they called her Katie Ba. Kate, that Katie, that's what they called her. But in Navajo, she's Akhet Datiba. And anyway, so that was my story of my grandma, my grandparents. It was fun to tell you all these stories and to share my culture with you and the things that I grew up with. And so I learned I have many, many, many more stories, but I don't have that time that allotted to me, so I will have to stop here. Unless if you have a question or two. Yes?
Will you just go through your clans one more time?
Oh, go through my clan. Okay. Nathane Comanche Dashache Halsoy Dashanala. So those are my 4 clans. In my maternal clans first, and then paternal clan second, the other half. Okay. So will that do? Yes. That's very interesting, because even today, time is not very important to me, and very often I am late, and my husband, who is very strict with time, and he is a soldier at heart, and is on time for everything, early if possible. And so time, it still doesn't really mean much to me, but if it comes time to presenting to you on time, I will do it. And so, and we did not have clocks. We did not have many things. I didn't have toys. You know, I made my own toys, and with my grandma. And we didn't have very much of anything. My world was open space, and I had wild animals. I had my own animals. We had livestock. We had lots of plants. We had many things. We had our own medicine that we went out and enjoyed picking and treating, you know, when we're sick, and there was a plant for every sickness. And so that's how I grew up. And time was not anything to us. When the sun comes up, you wake up. Before it comes up, really, because at 4 o'clock, in the summertime, when it's really light, you run to pick your gifts along the way to meet the sun, and you give thanks. And that's how we did it, and it's what we were taught. And so we run, and then when the sun comes up, then we have to turn around, go run home or walk home, whichever. And along the way, we do chores. We pick up log, what do you call it? Sticks for kindling, and wood, firewood along the way home. Or we find different things, a plant maybe to use that day. And so, and about when the sun is about here, then you let the sheep out. Well, actually in the summertime, you have to let them out as soon as when you start running, because they will, by the time the sun is right here, they will just go to the shade. They will not be moved in any way. They're stubborn and they will not move. So wherever they get stuck is where they're at until about the sun is right here, and then they come out and they graze again. But the sun keeps going, and then when the sun is about right there, and this is what my grandma said, you go and look at your shadow. If the sun is right above you, your shadow will not be, you won't see very much of your shadow. It'll just be right there under you. When that happens, you come home. You come home because it's going to be so hot. You will not want to be out there. And if you do, you have to know where the waters are, because we bury bottles of water everywhere, you know. So when we're out there, we can drink water. And anyway, and so we have to be near water or we go home at that time. And it never had to do with lunch, or it never had to do with anything, a break or anything like that. But we just had to be home because the sun was too hot. And then, excuse me. And then we had, as the sun starts to go down, we just have to keep looking at our shadow. And then about this much, and in the summertime, then your shadow starts growing away from you. And when your shadow is about 3 times as you are, then it's time to bring the sheep in. And so that was our time. That's how we measured time. And so that it was, we never had to look at a watch or look at our time or ask each other, what time is it, you know? It wasn't even that way. But when I was to school, it was different. Everything was different at school. The language was different, the way we ate was different, and we had our own beds to sleep in, and there was a mattress and no sheepskin, nothing. And running water, I never even knew about running water until I went to school. So it was so fascinating to me. I played with the faucets and just stayed there every chance I got. You know, when we were have a break, a recess from our class, I would run to where the faucets are, and I would play with it. And our playground had all kinds of equipment, playthings, and it was so nice, and it was a discovery. It was a very wonderful place of discovery, and it was a time when my when our teachers and all my relatives were working at the school, because it was a kind of a small school. We only had about like 100, maybe 120 students, and it was a small school. And so we could speak Navajo. Before me, the generation before me, they could not. Everything was taken from them, their language, their culture, the way they dress, and their hair was cut, everything. But with me, it was totally different. They encouraged us to go both, to say, okay, say it in Navajo, now say it in English. It's the same thing, you know. So I started putting my language together, my new language and my native language. And so one thing that I made up is flashlight. A flashlight is I called flashlight, because in the flashlights we had in those days were long, and they're made out of metal, and so that was the light that came from those things. And so when I learned flashlight, instead of saying flashlight, I say beige light, because the beige is the metal part, and the light is a new language that gives light. And so that's how I made up my language. And there are many other languages that we made up, and so that I made up myself too. And then even, you know what, even today, my sisters do the same thing. The other day, my sister texted me this word. How did she say it? Nijoniful. Nijoniful. Nijoni is beautiful or pretty. Like, have a nijoniful day, she said in her text. And so nijoniful is like beautiful, have a wonderful day. You know, Nijoni is part beautiful, and language, we were still doing that. And so anyway, I think this is where we will stop. Thank you.